So this review lesson is all about what is often called short division or using division shortcuts, and that's all about dividing with single-digit divisors. And this is taking the long process for long division and making it short and compact so that we aren't writing a whole lot underneath the actual division, none of the multiplication, subtraction, all of those things, just making marks of the remainders and then going through. So it's a slightly faster process. Of course, you're always welcome to use the entire long division if you're more comfortable with that, but this is just one more tool that you might want to have in your toolkit. So as I said, single digit division is often equated with what's called a division shortcut, and then you can use this really only when your divisor has one digit. You can use it for other things, but it gets a bit more complicated with everything that's going on. So let's take a look at an example of that with 6,842 divided by 8. Now here we have, as we said, 6,842. We're going to divide by 8. 8 is a single digit divisor, so we can use this division shortcut. Now 8 doesn't go into 6, but 8 goes into 68 8 times. Now 8 times 8 is 64, and if we were going through that long process, we would write 64 and have a 4 there. Well, instead of going through that process, we're actually just going to write that 4 as a remainder right next to where the next 4 is. And now we know that our next part that we have to worry about, our next number that we have to worry about 8 dividing into is 44. Well, we know that 8 goes into 44 5 times. And 44 minus 40 is 4. So now our next one is 42. Again, 8 goes into 42 5 times. This time we have a remainder of 2. And now we don't have any other digits, but of course we can add zeros. So that 8 goes into 20 twice with a remainder of 4, because 20 minus 16 is 4, and goes into 45 times. So our quotient is 855 and 25 hundredths. Now again, we went through this entire process in our heads for what the multiplication of 8 times any of the digits in the quotients are, subtracting out that whole thing, and then adding the remainder next to the digit. So there's a lot of mental math involved with this one, and if you are uncomfortable with mental math, or if you would prefer not to use mental math, that is perfectly fine. You do not have to use this shortcut. As I said, this is just one potential more tool for you. So let's take a look at a few more examples. 52,146 divided by 6. So here we have 6 goes into 52 8 times. That's 48. 52 minus 8 is 4. 6 goes into 41 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. 41 minus 6, or rather minus 36, is 5. 6 goes into 54 9 times. 54 minus 54 is 0. And 6 goes into 6 once. So our quotient is 8,691. A few more examples. We can use this with decimal points too. We don't need to do it just with whole numbers. Of course, decimal division is exactly the same as whole number division when we don't have decimals in the divisor, which we don't here. 5 goes into 43 8 times with a remainder of 3. 5 goes into 37 7 times with a remainder of 2. Goes into 21 4 times with a remainder of 1. Goes into 12 2 times with a remainder of 2. And then goes into 20 4 times. So our quotient is 87 and 424 thousandths. For 802 and 76 hundredths. 4 goes into 8 twice with no remainder, and then doesn't go into 0. Doesn't go into 2 either, so now we're looking at 27 here. 4 goes into 27 6 times, and 4 times 6 is 24, so that gives us a remainder of 3. And then 4 goes into 36 9 times. So our quotient is 269 hundredths. So you can see that this process is potentially faster if you can do a lot of the work mentally, but if you prefer not to, again, you don't have to use this process. You can always go through the entire long division. So there are 4 example problems for you to work on here. Go ahead and work through these first 2. We'll go through the answers, and then we'll go to the last 2 and work through them using the division shortcut that we just talked about. So 689 divided by 2. 2 goes into 6 3 times with no remainder. Goes into 8 4 times with no remainder. Goes into 9 4 times with a remainder of 1. and goes into 10 5 times. So our quotient is 344 and 5/10. And then for the second one here, 4,767 divided by 7. 7 goes into 47 6 times with a remainder of 5. Goes into 56 8 times with no remainder, and then goes into 7 once. So our quotient is 681. Now for the last two problems, same way. Go through and use the division shortcut. Continue dividing till you get to the end of the division, and then come back and we'll be ready to go through the answers. So 42 and 84 thousandths divided by 6 goes into 42 7 times with no remainder, goes into 0 no times, goes into 6 once with a remainder of 2, and 6 goes into 24 4 times, so our answer is 7 and 14 thousandths. Our quotient is 7 and 14 thousandths, and our last problem, 4,087 hundred thousandths divided by 8. 8 goes into 0 0 times, 4 0 times, 40 5 times. Goes into, with no remainder, goes into 8 once, goes into 7 0 times, so we add a 0. Goes into 78 times. 8 times 8 is 64, so we have a remainder of 6. Goes into 67 times with a remainder of 4. And then finally goes into 45 times. So the long decimal division gives us a quotient of 0.0510875. And so here we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 hundred millionths, 10 millionths, 100 millionths. So 510,875 hundred millionths. And just as a reminder, short division really isn't any different than long division in terms of the quotient you get. It's still the same process, but we just write our remainders inside the digits for the dividend, so we can write it in a more compact and potentially faster way if our mental math is good.